Lewis, I can hear you talking about that you're ashamed of what you did, but I don't have a sense of whether you have ever really confessed that wrongdoing to Cynthia.
Well, I mean, I guess I really haven't, because all that we've done is argued.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess really because of the fact that she caught me, there was no need to confess.
Mm-hmm.
Because she saw it and then she left, and then, not talking with her pretty much all that day, and didn't really talk about the incident the next few days, and when we did, it was just arguing. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've confessed it to God, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, isn't that good enough? I guess not.
Well, I don't know. How do you feel about that, Cynthia?
And that's fine and everything, but I mean, I'm glad that he did that.
Glad that he confessed it to God.
Yeah. It'd be nice if he was a little more sorry to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you say that confessing is, I think that it would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Just never really, I don't know. I guess it kind of never really came up that way
Mm-hmm.
for us. Never really thought about it that way because we were very hostile.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you both are willing, I think it might help your relationship, Lewis, if you were able to make a good confession
Mm-hmm.
of this. And so I think of a good confession as having several parts to it.
Okay.
So one is to make a real clear statement right at the beginning that I did wrong in doing whatever it is you're
Mm-hmm.
confessing. No excuses. No, I did wrong, but I said this before, I did wrong, but I gave hints. I did wrong, period.
Okay.
Then to make a really good apology for this, one that comes from your heart, however you say that, but to convince her that you do apologize, you are truly sorry, you feel remorse, you feel sadness, whatever you feel, so that it comes from your heart, that you convince her how much this bothers you, that you wronged her. I think the third part is to confess to her that you see how much this hurt her, that you see the pain that she's been in. And then to ask her if there are things that you could do that would make it up to her.
Sure.
To promise her that you won't do this again.
Okay.
I know you've said that you don't want to do this,
Mm-hmm.
but I want you to think about promising that to her. And then ask her outright if she can forgive you for that.
Okay.
Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, the important part here is what you're doing. So I don't want you to say that you forgive him just because he asked at the end. That's too big a decision to just make on the spur of the moment. So the intent of this is not to somehow manipulate her into forgiving you, because she wants to do that. If she does forgive, she wants to do that on her own. Okay? But this is to make a good confession to her.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you hear as the parts?
Well, just basically just telling her with no excuses.
Right.
And then after I tell her, just apologizing.
Mm-hmm. From the heart.
I'm sorry?
From the heart.
Okay. And then not only that, but how it's affected her,
Mm-hmm.
not just me.
Right.
And then just truly asking for her forgiveness.
And if they're asking, perhaps if there's a way that...
A way I can make it better or
Right.
change it in some way.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and I think if you do this, it shows how much you value her, that you value her enough to see that what you've done to hurt her and to be sorry that you've done it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's try that then. So if you'll look at her and
Okay.
if you can look at him.
I mean, you were there, and saw when I did it, but I guess I never confessed it to you. It's something I have struggled with, and I did this. I looked at pornography. I was looking at other women, obviously, with their clothes off and stuff, and it was, I mean, it's ugly. I can't imagine, I never thought about how much this would hurt you, even though I knew it wasn't good. I thought it was just me that was struggling with it, and it was my own battle, but I definitely hurt you. I'm sure you felt cheapened and cheated on. I mean, I'm so sorry. I mean, I meant it that day that I said I loved you. And I still mean it today. And even when I was looking at stuff or afterwards and I'd feel so bad, I still loved you. I love you so much, and I want to do whatever I can to make it better so that you'll trust me again. If you could just forgive me for doing this, because I'm so sorry. I'll do whatever you want me to do to make it better or to change it.
Okay. I asked you a couple of times before to put your body in a position in which reflected your feelings. So at this point, I want to ask you to do that again, to put your body in a position toward each other, however, that reflects how you feel after this. Okay.
I don't know. I don't really know. I guess.
Okay, just hold on. We're going to talk a little bit about forgiveness. And what I'd like to ask you to do is to do something difficult. I'd like for you to think back into your past. Before you even met Lewis. And to think about a time when you were hurt and what happened, and how did that situation unfold, and hopefully you can think of a time when you were able to forgive whoever it was that hurt you. So I'm kind of talking a bit while you think. So if you can come up with a time.
I didn't really know that we were going to do this.
Mm.
but I mean, I guess I could talk about something.
Okay, so before you start, so Lewis, I just want you to pay attention to what's going on with her and how this thing unfolded.
Okay.
I mean, I guess something that maybe fits what you're trying to say is something that happened with my dad. My parents had a lot of marital issues, and they, at one point before they got divorced, were separated, and they were living in separate places. This is when I was in high school. I don't really. I try not to talk about it too much. I mean, it's in the past, I try not to talk about it too much. But he started seeing another woman when they were separated, and he didn't. I guess the problem with that was that he didn't tell me about it. I found out in another way, and it wasn't really so much that he was seeing someone else. I mean, it was just that he didn't tell me, and I felt like a child. I felt like, why can't he trust me enough, or why can't he, just be bold enough to tell me to my face what's going on? I mean, I had a right to know. And anyway, I just got really angry at him, and I didn't say anything, eventually I guess they didn't work out or whatever, but for a long time I was just really closed off to him and just really angry about that. And I guess it was maybe like a few years after that, and I was in college. We went on this trip, and we were able to talk about it. I don't know who brought it up, but we talked about what it was like for him. He was very quiet during that time when they were having problems. And I guess when we went on this trip, he decided he was going to tell me more about how things were hard for them during that time, and just how confused and hurt and angry he was and everything he was going through. And I told him that I really wish he would have told me about this other woman that he was seeing, and he told me that the reason he didn't say anything back then was because he didn't want to put that on me. He felt like I was going through enough. So we had a very good discussion, and I started to see more of his perspective in it. And then we talked about, kind of things for the future. Like, I was an adult then anyway, and so it was more appropriate then to decide that it was okay to talk about this kind of things, that he could talk about his relationships and I could talk about mine. So that's, I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but...
Yeah. And so the turning point was being able to talk about this thing in a way where you were in the car together and kind of couldn't get away from it, but you were able to see his perspective and see things from his point of view. And then once you were able to see things more from his point of view and see the struggles that he was going through and see that he cared about you and was doing this really to protect you, that made it easier to forgive.
Yeah.
How did you, what did you think?
I had no idea. I mean, we spent so many years even dating before we were married, and we had talked about, I guess, everything, I thought, and I didn't know, so it definitely, her reaction to me looking at pornography and that, I can definitely see her concern, because if her dad was seeing another woman, maybe she was scared that I was, or it could one day turn into that. Yeah. I had no idea. So it definitely puts things in perspective, how much she was hurt.
So I think that's a an interesting insight that you had from your point of view. And I just am struck at how you didn't feel trusted, and it really wounded you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I was kind of still a kid, but still I felt like I was old enough to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you were able, even though you were very wounded at that, you were able to forgive.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, yes.
So I think that you went through a very predictable process that doesn't happen like just snapping your finger, but y'all talked about, or what I call recalling the hurt. You got a sense of empathy, of compassion for your father. You gave him a precious gift of forgiving him. And now you're able to talk about this and to hold on to that forgiveness. Now, Lewis has made a confession to you about his struggles with pornography and his desire to make things up to you. And I'm not going to ask you to forgive him. That's a decision you'll either come to or won't come to yourself. But what I'd like for you to do is to think about what you understand his perspective to be. What is his point of view in all this? What has he gone through? Can you just talk about what you see him experiencing through all this?
I don't know. I mean, it just all seems so wrong still, you know?
Right.
Just, I mean, I guess there's things that I don't look at pornography. I mean, that stuff, I just think it's disgusting, and I want to have no part of it. But, I guess there's other things where, I try and then I fail, and I try and I fail, and I do that so many times that I really start to feel like I'm never going to succeed in whatever the thing is I'm trying to succeed in. And so I guess I could see that part of it, it's been a problem for a long time. He tries to do things to prevent himself from doing it. He tries to have self-control. But maybe he feels like every time he, fails, it's like he starts to feel worse and worse about it. Maybe that's part of what makes it difficult. I don't know. Maybe there's something that, maybe it's like a man, like something having to do with males, like that I don't know anything about that. Maybe I would never really understand how hard it is because maybe it's like biological or something. But I don't know. It's still hard for me to think that someone can have that little self-control.
Right, but from his point of view, I want you to think.
Okay. I don't know, maybe there's something about it that makes him feel good about himself. Maybe there's some sort of, something like a reward in it or something emotionally, maybe.
So let me ask you to kind of now broaden out his experience a little. So he's made this confession to you. What does he feel about wanting to get back with you, to restore that relationship?
I believe that he's honest, that he's being honest, that he's sincere in his apology. And I mean, I really appreciated that. I've never heard him say anything like that before. And so I believe that he really does want to change. And I can see how it'd be really hard to put yourself out there like that and then to have someone, you know, I mean, I don't think I'm rejecting him, but to put yourself out there like that and then still kind of feel like you're having the door slammed in your face maybe a little, or it's just not maybe as warm or, you know, receiving, like it's not being received maybe as well as he would like. So, I don't know, that's what I think.
So it's hard for him not to feel trusted by you.
Yeah, I guess so.
And you know how hard it was for you when your dad didn't trust you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me just ask if I asked you several times before to make a sculpture of the way that you feel toward each other. So if I can ask you one more time to put your bodies in a position that reflects how you feel right now toward each other.
I mean, I guess I still feel like I'm on my knees because I want this changed, but I'm not sure.